Now we come to the payoff, power closing techniques. Everyday salesmen lose orders that are ripe to fall into their hands, orders they have earned, because they shy away from a strong closing. I should say everyday salesmen set up sales for other salesmen to carry over the goal line. The man who finally makes the sale may not be half the man the first one is, but he's a closer. A good closer reaps the benefit of everything which has gone before him. The advertising, the customer's natural desire, even his competitor's spade work. You want to become a better closer, and you will become one. Ahead of you right now are power closing techniques. You will find among them some which fit your particular style in nearly every situation you enter. But first, some common sense about closing to offset a certain amount of nonsense and fear on the subject. Understand at the outset that the old superstition about the one and only psychological moment for closing is out. True enough that some times are better than others, but rely on your common sense. Try to close the sale early and try often. Don't think you have only one chance in the interview. You'll see in what follows that you have several chances. Now, it's very reassuring to understand why men are weak at closing sales. When you analyze it, it comes down to reluctance, the fear of a no answer. We completely ignore the very encouraging fact that most, not some, but most sales are made after the buyer says no. An initial no means just about nothing. A no is a buyer's most obvious way to gain time to study your product and hear its best features without being the least bit committed to you. No is exactly what you say to a salesman first, isn't it? Completely forget your distaste for a no answer. The men who are most successful will hear the most no's. They understand that the word is harmless, that on the way to success you hear it many times. They understand, in fact, that before almost every single sale, you will hear the word no. They know that it won't bite, scratch, injure, break bones, or draw blood, so they pay no attention to it, hardly even hear it. Next, and listen to this carefully, once you begin to close, relax. Do not telegraph tension to your prospect. No matter how much this sale means to you, remember there will be others. Orders are like bank loans. They are heaped upon people who do not appear to need them. Expect the order and appear to expect it, but do not appear to need it desperately. The customer is scared to death of the man who needs the order. You don't need any one man's order that badly. Understand that and let it show. At the same time, do use the advantages of auto-suggestion to project your confidence to him and carry him right along with it. Let him see by your assured behavior that both of you know very well he will be better off with your product. So it's just a matter of getting the order okayed. Auto-suggestion is being so sure that you carry him right along with you. You hand him the pen so matter-of-factly that he grasps it and signs. Have you ever seen a cocky little regular Army sergeant bring a platoon of raw recruits to attention, and then through the rifle drill? It isn't the commands that do it. They hardly know the commands. It's auto-suggestion. He precedes them by an instant. Before he opens his mouth, he personally comes out of a slouch into a position of readiness, and they do likewise. Then just prior to the command of execution, he personally snaps to perfect attention, and before he even opens his mouth, the platoon is already rigid and vibrating. He wouldn't even need to issue the verbal command. Carry your prospect with you into the closing of the sale with the same auto-suggestion. But when do I begin to close this sale? Early and often. The prospect will tell you when, watch for the cues, and recognize them when they occur. There are obvious cues and subtle ones. The better salesman recognizes them even when they sound like objections. Your customer says, "But I think this color is horrible." A closing cue. She likes it enough that she's truly disappointed it isn't in her color. Find the color she likes and begin to close the sale. The prospect says, "Can I get this in a wood finish?" It's a cue to close. He asks, "But is there service available on this?" It's a cue to close. "Do you train my operators?" A closing cue. That's an awful lot of money to have to borrow. It's a closing cue. He's already thinking of ways and means. I have no business even thinking of buying now, unquote. But he is. It's definitely a closing cue. Is that all the margin you can allow me? It's a closing cue. Sometimes a closing cue is an action. A man will handle the product possessively, as if it's already his, or he will put his glasses away. He's seen all he needs to know he likes it. Or he relaxes his body a little. He's made his decision. He knows he likes it, or he nods his head unconsciously. It's a closing cue. A highly successful automobile salesman has observed that when a prospect takes a quick look in his own glove compartment, it's a closing cue. The man is involuntarily checking to see if he's left any valuables in it. A furniture salesman says that when a lady prospect wipes her hand over a tabletop to clean off a speck of dust, she's already bought it. He asks for the order. A complaint on price is a closing cue if it expresses real disappointment. It means, don't shut me out, I want this. Realize that certain other complaints are closing cues. They may mean real interest. A man who is not even interested won't honor you with a complaint. Now, before we go into the power closing techniques, a few quick do's and don'ts. First, the don'ts. Don't fight shy of putting the order blank in plain sight. Let him get used to it. You both know you're there to sell. No need to be coy about that. And it helps announce your serious intentions. But don't use that old phrase, signed here. It has become the subject of jokes and cliches, and you don't know what unpleasant associations he has with the phrase. You'll inherit that. Instead, ask him to okay it or approve the order. Do not beg or plead. You're here on business, not charity. Do not make a ceremony of closing with all your papers and pens and special forms. Instead, get the mechanics done quickly and congratulate him on a good move. It is a good move for him, isn't it? Or I presume you wouldn't be handling that line. Do not debate. You get no ribbon for that here. Give your best answer to the objection and move on to your stronger points. Now for the do's. Do reassure the prospect every step of the way. He has fears you don't even know about. Let him see that buying from you is a good move. A lot of people are doing it to their benefit. Do name the price early if it's high. There used to be a game of button who's got the price, but get that behind you so the mystery of it doesn't make both of you nervous and guarded during the rest of the interview. A high price may be your best selling point. A builder in Chicago had held 4 houses at under $30,000 each for over a year. He was very discouraged. But adding up his costs again, he found that realistically, he should add $1,500 per house in interest and carrying charges. That threw the price above that horrible $30,000 mark, but he did it anyway. One of the houses sold 5 days later. The second and third sold within the balance of that month. The Owen, Illinois Glass Company built a museum of the history of glassmaking, admission free. In the first month, only 14 visitors. They put up a sign, admission $1, and had to put on extra maintenance personnel to keep it clean and get off-the-street parking facilities. Do expect to make the sale. It's a foregone conclusion. You've just dropped in to pick up the signed order, on your way to pick up another signed order in the same area. Do lead him to think of himself as already the owner of your product. Do realize that the prospect may be well sold, but he will not volunteer, okay, I'll take it. He'll await your move, your closing effort. He's going to make you step up like a man and ask for that order and close that sale. We're all built that way. We like to buy. But we like to do it with a becomingly patronizing reluctance. In a way, we're all selling all the time. So when we get our chance to be the big buyer for a change, we like to play the role to the hilt and make the man bring out his best effort. We like to buy, but we want to see the man ask us for that order. It's our moment to make the grand gesture. But we're not going to throw it away on a man who won't even do us the honor of really getting in there and going after our business. Remember cars after the war? You had to grab the salesman by the arm and beg him for one. Well, people didn't like it. Today, customers are going to make us close that sale. But that's the big thrill of it all. You shouldn't miss it. And don't be afraid of the close, because the 9 power closing techniques, which will now be yours, are a pleasure to handle. Begin with the easy ones first, and you may never even get to the more forceful ones toward the end of the list. Power close number 1 is the trial close. and it's a pleasure. Easy does it, and it shuts no doors on you at all. If the answer is a sale, your job is done. If your answer is negative, you can pull out of it and nothing lost. Go right on. The trial close fits almost anywhere in the interview, almost before you say hello. It doesn't ask for the order. It merely asks the prospect's opinion in this fashion. Do you like the natural wood finish or the leather? If he names either one, you can start filling out the order blank. If he says, whoa, hey, you're ahead of yourself. I don't even know what it's all about yet. Well, tell him. Another example. A washing machine salesman has good luck on a trial close by saying, would you use the washer this afternoon if we could get it installed by 3 o'clock, or would Tuesday be better? He claims any answer to that question is good. He either makes the sale or he gets more information about her methods, preferences, and objections. And by the way, don't be afraid to get the customer's objections out on the carpet. How can you handle them if they're locked up inside? Another sample trial close. Quote, how soon will you need this machine, sir? Another. Would the 25 horsepower motor be better on your boat or the 15? Another. Will you need these units before Wednesday? That's the trial close. Easy to work in, early to work in. And your job may be done before you get a chance to really demonstrate your product. But if it isn't, nothing lost. Next time, if you like, try a slightly more overt close, but still easy. Power closing technique number 2, the size of order close. That's easy, quick, and very effective. Example, Mr. Yeager, will you need over 500 of these units? How can you lose? If he says yes, simply ask how many. If he says no, same thing, and write it on the order blank. If he says, whoa, hey, hold on there, well, just go on to your next point, removing one objection after another. The size of order close fits most any product. Will you need over 20 of them right away? Will your warehouse handle a carload? Do I judge correctly that you'll need about 8 of these? The size of order close has big advantages. If he names a figure, you're over the hump. And if you're suggesting a figure, name the highest reasonable number. You never insult a man by overestimating his requirements or his buying power. You can hurt yourself and him too by underestimating. And remember, time is your precious possession. If you can sell 100 units to one customer, you're way ahead of the man selling 25 units to each of 4 customers. Will you need 100 of these by Monday? If he says yes, write up the order. If he says no, ask how many. If he says again, whoa, hey, not so fast. Well, move along, and next time, perhaps, you'll want to try power close number 3. The third is the minor decision close. Here again, the beauty of it is it doesn't bring you a shutout. Plus, it doesn't ask a man to make a major decision. Yet the major decision is clear as a bell to both of you if he instinctively makes the minor. Mr. Hartford, would you want this shipped express or regular? Or, Mrs. McGrath, should the monogram read ELG or just EG? Or, Mr. Meyer, do you like the apartment with a view of the lake better than the one overlooking the city? Any answer brings you either a sale or more information for continuing. Now, sometimes very early in a sale, you'll want to try a stronger close. Power closing technique number 4 is the assumption close. After you have given a strong presentation of good points and good and valid customer benefits, just simply act as if the deal is over. Expect to make the sale. There is no doubt in your mind and none in his. It's simply a matter of how much and when. So instead of asking him if he wants to buy, try something like this. Quote, let's see, Mike, you'll want this equipment installed before you mix your next batch on Wednesday afternoon. And I think we can make that all right. Now, see if this is filled out correctly and initial it, will you? Or another example. Quote, may I call my office on your phone to see if we have 100 of these in stock for you? E.F. Gregory, a highly successful insurance salesman, uses the assumption close almost all the time. At a certain stage in his interview, he will pull out the application form, which is the order blank. He won't ask for the full name, age, address, all those questions which spell order blank. He begins, did you ever have an operation? Yes, answers the prospect, on my left knee, cartilage. Gregory will write that down, then ask, "Ever have TB?" At this point, the prospect may bellow out, "Wait, I didn't say that I was going to buy any insurance yet." Gregory agrees and then adds, "But my company is very strict on this policy, and so I think if we fill out this health chart, I can get a good idea whether you'll qualify for it." Suddenly, it seems the customer wants it. Power closing technique number 5 is another easy one to do, very easy and very effective. That's the instructive close. Give the prospect instructions about how he'll use the product after it's delivered. For example, "Mr. Miller, when you have guests aboard this boat, be sure to put this no-skid tread along the dock, huh?" Or, "Mr. Lee, when this is delivered, be sure to unpack it from this end so you won't lose the handle." The instructive power close is one of the best. Notice it shows an interest beyond the sale. Power closing technique number 6, the physical action close. In this technique, you make a physical move which helps the customer decide the matter. A merchant in a store may tear off a sheet of wrapping paper ready to wrap the product, or he may pick up the object and begin to walk to the customer's car. A Chicago real estate salesman has an action close which he uses after he has had 1 or 2 indecisive interviews with a couple who are having difficulty making up their minds. On the next trip to the house with the husband and wife, he is prepared with a small house sign which has the house number on it and the name of the prospect. At some point in the interview, he attaches it to the mailbox on the house or sticks it into the ground by the driveway. When he knows they really like the house, he feels he's doing them a favor by helping them make up their minds. If they permit the sign to remain, he has a sale. If they stop him, he'll conclude, "Well, let's just say this will hold the house until tomorrow noon for you, huh? Call me then on what to do about it." If he makes the sale, the sign is a low-cost method. If he doesn't, he rearranges the movable letters to spell the next prospect's name. Often he finds people drive out later and like the looks of the sign. But a physical act brings life to the interview and may close the sale. Now, this one is different from the others in that it often forces a decision, and the decision may go against you. So with this one, judgment. Power closing technique number 7 is the impending event close, or you could call it the SRO, standing room only close. In this technique, you try to close on the basis of something which is going to happen. The real estate man explains that he is showing the house to 2 other couples later that day. The clothing salesman explains to the retailer customer that the factory is not going to make any more of this color or pattern. The insurance salesman points out that your premium rate will rise tomorrow because you'll be 6 months beyond your birthday. Power closing technique number 8 is a strong positive close. It's called the for and against method. It's sound and very fair and very effective. When other milder closing methods have left the customer still in a state of indecision, grab a sheet of paper, bringing in a little of the action close technique. Vigorously draw a line right down the center. Label the left-hand side for, the right-hand side against. Then address the customer directly. Look, Mr. Boyd, since we still seem to be on dead center, let's face up to the pros and cons, huh? And see where our decision should lie. You've got me a little confused, too. Here on the left, let's put down everything that's against your buying this stamping machine. First, it's $3,600. That's against it. Second, we can't deliver it in time for your next job. That's against it. Third, it means you'll have to move your number 3 mill a little to the left. That's against it. All right, have we left out anything that's against it? Your customer may add a couple of objections. Put them down. Much better to get them out in the open where you know where you're fighting or what you're fighting. You can't fight a ghost, you know. All right, you say. Now, let's put down the advantages. First, we both agree it will increase your production 30 units an hour. Well, you claim 28, so we'll use 28. Now you, controlling the factors, put down all your advantages and show that the weight of logic is on your side. The for and against has many advantages. First, it is logical and businesslike. Second, it brings out hidden objections which, until now, you couldn't get a hold of. Third, you are present when he weighs the pluses and the minuses. If he does it in private after you leave, you don't know whether he writes down the score correctly. Do not, I repeat, do not argue with his objections at this point. Later, perhaps, but not now. Sophisticated salesmanship is its recent swing to more honesty. Both buyers and sellers are being more honest with each other. The fast pace of business makes the sly move too time-consuming. Honesty is the latest style in sales, so get with it. The for and against method is not for early in the sale. This is a power closer for when things get rough or stalled near the end. And here we come to power close number 9, the change of pace. Give up, pack up your literature and your samples, lean back in your chair, change the subject. You'll see him relax too. But you have saved one powerful closing argument. From all the advantages in your product, you've held back a big one, preferably one that applies especially to his operation. But hold it a while. Let him relax. He's tired of fighting you. When the mood is changed, bring out your 155 caliber closing argument. You may even have started to leave the room, but with your hand on the doorknob, you turn and say, "Fred, I haven't mentioned this before because I assumed you'd know it, but I think maybe you don't. The reason I'm sure you should switch to our machine is that when you redesign your product next year, we revise the cutting blades on the machine at cost." Or perhaps you say, "I was sure you knew, Fred, but I suddenly think you don't. I feel you ought to buy now because the price of all the equipment goes up in July." Or, "Fred, you realize that your competitor will be using this high-speed machine next week, and I don't see how you're going to stay competitive without it." Or, whatever your big argument is, spring it now. And you might even have one standing behind that so you can telephone him from the lobby on your way out. Well, sir, you now have in your possession 9 highly charged power closing techniques. Use them. You are now equipped to change your entire career, beginning tomorrow morning. So long and good luck. You'll have it.